Om. 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 Namaste to all the listeners. We are all familiar with the text Bhagavad Gita and Vishnusahasranamam. Upanishads are the basic texts which expound the philosophical truths of our Sanatana Dharma. Bhagavad Gita is supposed to be the quintessence of Upanishads, and so also Vishnusahasranamam, which describes 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. This text is again nothing but the exposition of the various characteristics or the traits of Lord Bhagavan or Lord Narayana, Lord Vishnu. We will take up for our study today only one verse of Vishnu Sahasranama, that is verse number 3, which reads, Yogo Yoga Vidam Neta Pradhana Purusheshwaraha Narasimha Vapa Shriman Keshava Purushottama. Here we find that there are three words here, Yogaha, Yoga Vidam Neta. You can say only two words, even that's good enough. Now let us understand what is yoga. All of us have heard this word day in and day out, but I don't think we in the general context have understood precisely what yoga is. While yoga has got many meanings, many interpretations, but we can basically take yoga in this fashion. See, generally the sense organs of the human body are extroverted. That is, all the time sense organs graze in the external world to seek their world of objects of pleasures. So the basic purpose of the sense organs is to seek their own objects of pleasure, which in turn gives the fulfillment of desires. This is the general pattern what all of us find in our day-to-day life. So what is the consequence? We are not satisfied with desire fulfillment at all. In fact, the more desires I fulfill, the more desires are multiplied. Therefore, the mind is constantly in the agitated state. Alright? What is the consequence? Consequence is, because the mind is impure and the intellect is unsteady, we are just unable to perceive what really I am in my true nature. In fact, we have a false notion. In fact, this notion is so deeply embedded in our psyche that all of us think that I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect. This is the unfortunate false misunderstanding what we have. In fact, we have to correct it in this fashion. I am not the body, but the body is mine. I am not the mind, but mind is mine. I am not the intellect, but intellect is mine. This should be the reconfigured concept what we must have in our mind. In fact, the very fact we say that my mind or my body or my intellect itself shows, if we pause a little or ponder over this, it shows that me is different from the body, me is different from the mind, me is different from the intellect. So this ignorance, it covers or eludes the real nature of mind. And while my real nature or the essence of my personality is all bliss, absolute knowledge, but I do not recognize that, I do not even feel the distant possibility I am the source of infinite bliss. I constantly struggle and strive, and then I am filled with sorrow all the time. This is because of the wrong notion of what I am, who really I am. This ignorance clouds my understanding, and therefore yoga is a process which helps me to understand my real nature and have that experience by myself. Now let us take one more step to analyze what is happening. In fact, the body, the mind and intellect are nothing but inert instruments, meaning that they do not have their own power to function. The inert means it does not have the power to move, does not have to do some work on its own. It needs an external agency. So that external agency which empowers this inert body, mind and intellect is called in technical terms Chaitanya, or the consciousness, or the Atman, or the Brahman. These are the very terms used for the same item you may even call God in terms of religion. Therefore, the yoga is a process where you turn the sense organs which are usually going out to within. Once you do that, you are free from the agitations which the mind is brought into by the contact of sense organs with respective sense objects. When you turn the mind from extrovertedness to introvertedness, that means when you turn the mind from the external physical phenomenal world to the very source of the world, the Atman, naturally the mind becomes more and more contemplative. The mind becomes contemplative, meaning that mind becomes quietened. It is at that time I will be able to have the glimpse of what you call as Atma Darshana. So the process of yoga is to turn the mind within and then experientially find that I am nothing but Atman. I am not belonging to any of these matter vestures what we are usually familiar with. Therefore, the process is called yoga. That's why this term is called as, first is yogaha, meaning that this Atman is expressed through a means of yoga, or that's why it is known as yogaha. Okay, we understood what is yoga. So what is the benefit of being a yogi? What is the purpose served by yoga? First is, as I already explained, I experience supreme bliss within me. I will be agitation free. My mind is totally quietened. I no more depend on any external object for being peaceful within. This is the purpose of yoga. That is the first step. Second step is, here he says, Yoga Vidam Neta. Yoga Vidam or Yogavit, meaning a person who knows yoga, just like Brahmaiva Brahmavit Bhavati. A person who knows Brahman becomes Brahman. So also here, when you say Yogavit, means he is the one who knows what is yoga. He is the one who intimately is experiencing the benefits of yoga. It's called as Yogavit. Now, Bhagavan says, Yoga Vidam Neta, the one who is practicing yoga, the one who in the real sense a yogi, and he is taken care of by the Lord. What does it mean? Taken care of means by what? Neta is, he is the leader, or he is the protector, or he is the nourisher. What does it mean is, in fact, all of us in our life spend all our life energy in only two things. One is called yoga, the other is called kshema. Yoga in this context means, yoga is acquisition of objects of the outside world. Why do we have the craving to acquire objects? Because we have a false notion, these objects which I acquire from the outside world gives me happiness, gives me pleasure. And it doesn't end there. Collection of objects or aggregating the objects of the outside world no doubt gives a temporary pleasure, but that is fleeting, is one part of it. Second part of it, the moment I acquire the objects with the hope of or with the desire for happiness, but it doesn't end there, as I said before, then I have one more task to do, that is the protection of the objects what I have acquired. This is what is called as kshema. Therefore, I spend all my life energy in yoga and kshema. Yoga, please understand, it is not the definition what I gave out in the first instance, but yoga here in this context means it is acquisition. That means acquiring the objects from the outside world. Therefore, the whole life's energy is spent only on these two, yoga and kshema, acquisition of objects which I don't have, and then spending all my energy to protect the objects so procured. So here Bhagavan tells, you don't do this. You don't have to spend this energy. You don't have to have the botheration of doing this. He says, you leave this to me because I am your protector. Yoga Vidam Neta. I have taken the responsibility of protecting you. Therefore, a yogi or a person who pursues the path of yoga is freed from this heavy responsibility of this yoga and kshama, and he leaves it completely to he completely pushes to the shoulders of Bhagavan. The same point what is echoed in chapter 9 is Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana Paryupasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. This is the verse described in chapter 9. It says, whoever centers his mind on me, I take care of their yoga kshema, meaning the struggle for acquisition of objects and then safeguarding or guarding the objects acquired in that way is taken care of by me. But the condition is he has to center his mind all the time on me. If he does it, I take care of him. So this is the same point what is described in Vishnusahasranamam, and the same idea is echoed in chapter 9 as I said now. Therefore, the advantage of becoming a yogi is that he is freed from the usual agitations the man in everyday life faces, and his life. He may do the same job, he may be the same circumstance, but his attitude is totally changed. He has no tinge of ego whatsoever in all his thinking and actions. That's why he is called as a yogi. Yogi means, yoga is union, as I said earlier, union of Jivatman with Paramatman, rising himself through the process of yoga to a state of higher consciousness which makes him to experience the divinity in him. Divinity in him. Therefore, this is the essence of this verse in Vishnusahasranamam. In the same way, we have many other verses which describe the essence of Vedanta. So let us close for today's study, and then we'll take up some more verses in the next study. Hari Om.